What does football mean to you, and could you sum up in 3 words?
3 words. Well, 1 word really, everything. That's the most important word, I think.
Thank you.
What is your greatest highlight of playing?
What, game or?
Game.
Probably the biggest game I played was probably 82 Cup final, Trophy Cup final at Wembley for Enfield.
Did you win it?
Yeah, we beat Ironton 1-0 after extra time.
Were you striker or midfielder?
I played midfield that day, so it was an extremely hot day.
What is the match that you would love to play again?
What, so we could win?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of the semi-finals that we got knocked out in. We played a lot of FA Trophy Cup finals, probably 2 or 3 I can recall, and we lost, particularly one against Wealdstone. It was 2 legs, and we lost the first leg at home 2-0, but we won the second leg away 1-0, but we lost an aggregate 2-1, and they were sort of our local rivals, and I would like to have played that game again, especially the home game. We lost 2-0.
When did you start playing football?
I suppose 3 or 4 when I was a young boy. Well, I really got into football probably when I was about 7 or 8, something like that, and I played for my local school team.
How did you start playing football?
How did I start playing football?
Yeah.
It's just you get picked for your school team, and then you progress, and then I sort of played for sort of borough, then the county, and then I got picked up by a professional team.
Who had the best celebrations?
Celebrations, what, after scoring a goal?
Yeah.
Or actually winning a match?
After scoring a goal.
Oh, there's numerous people. I don't think they do the celebrations they do now, but it's usually just the jump up in the air, something like what George Best or Bobby Charlton done. So they're older players that you probably don't know.
How did you keep fit?
Well, we used to train on a Tuesday or Thursday when we played non-league, so we done a lot of running, a lot of ball exercises, but just generally, I was naturally quite fit anyway, but obviously you had to train as hard as you could.
What was your inspiration? What was your inspirational player?
When I was young, I actually, it was George Best. He used to play for Man United, and he was a sort of player you just sort of idolised, sort of like your Wayne Rooney's or your Messi's now. So you always had a player we looked up to, and he was sort of one I idolised.
How did your family support you?
Well, my dad used to work a lot, so he didn't support me tons, but my mum used to sort of take me everywhere. So she used to have time off of work and drive me to training and to matches. And obviously when I could drive myself, obviously I got there myself. But yeah, when you're young, your mum and dad support you in everything you do. So you need that help behind you.
Who was the best player you've ever played with?
Played with? I was fortunate I was at QPR, and there's some good players at that time. There's a bloke called Stan Bowles and Jerry Francis, and they were extremely good players. So I was fortunate to play with them sort of people. To play for Enfield in the day when I played was sort of the best team in the country to play for. There was probably only one other team, which is Ironton, but obviously that was up north. So to play for Enfield was the sort of goal at that time. So if you play for Enfield, you're obviously playing for the best team in non-league football and playing with some very good players as well. So it was an honour.
Who would you say was the best player on your team?
I was very fortunate. I played with a lot of good players, but there was a boy named Noel Ashford who was an extremely talented player. Another boy named Keith Barrett, excellent players at that time.
Did you do any other sport apart from football?
Yeah, I played tennis and I swam a lot, but I think when you come to a point in your career, you've got to decide what you really want to do. So football was sort of the main sport I wanted to do.
Did you play football outside? No,
once you played for Enfield, you sign a contract, you can only play for Enfield, so you can't play for any other team or anything like that, so they sort of own you. So, you have doctors, you have physios, so you have to do everything that they want you to do.
Did you ever play a match in a different country?
Yeah, I've played loads of matches in lots of different countries, so yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. Football's taken me to most countries in Europe, so I've been very fortunate.
What would you say was the best cup that you won?
Best cup, I answered that earlier, it's probably the FA Trophy in 1982. We played Ironton at Wembley and we beat them there after extra time.
Well done.
Yeah, it was a great experience, yeah.
Where was the best place you travelled with the team?
Travelled, there's numerous countries, but Turkey was good, France was good, Norway. It's football sort of in every country, and it's huge. Holland, Italy, huge in all the countries. So it's good cultures to play against.
How did you travel around? Did you have to walk it, take a bus, or was it a coach?
Well, if you play for this club here, they had their own coach, so you'd meet at the club at a certain time, and then you'd travel by coach to the game. But we were obviously played all over the country, so we could be playing near Scotland or down near Plymouth, something like that. So sometimes we travelled on the Friday overnight, or sometimes we travelled up in the morning. Sometimes we went by train, it depended.
What position did you play?
I played midfield, so I sometimes left,
On the
sometimes.
wing or?
I started off on right midfield, but my manager at the time, Eddie McCluskey, put me onto the left, and then I ended up playing in the centre. I had to play on the left because someone else didn't want to play there, so he pushed me over there.
How would you describe yourself as a football player? Was you like a tactical player?
I thought I was quite a gifted player. I was quite creative, but I think I had a good desire to win as well. But you evolve as you get older, so you lose when you're 20, 21, 22, you've got pace and creativity. As you get a little bit older, you slow up, and then you might drop back in a position and negate the other team a little bit. But hopefully I was described as an exciting, creative player.
Did you have any favourite skills?
Not really. All them tricks people do. I've never actually seen anyone catch a ball in the back of the neck in a football match, but I presume they will come in handy. But if you can control the ball and do the basics, that's what football's about.
What do you think of the players that play now?
Well, I think that the main difference now is probably their fitness level and their strength has probably improved. But ability-wise, I don't know if there's any different. It's sort of our era. We had some fantastic players with brilliant skill. But the whole culture in football's changed. It's more of big business. So there's no sort of going out nights partying and then playing the next day. It's much stricter now.
Were you one of the fittest in the team?
I was pretty fit, yeah, but there was obviously some people fitter and there's some people not so fitter, but no, I could have been fitter probably, yeah, I agree.
Nicky, how did you come to join Enfield Football Club?
I was brought here by Eddie McCluskey. He was under my coach at QPR, and when I left QPR, I was at Barking for a couple of years, and then Eddie got the Enfield job, and he asked me to come over. So he was the main reason I come to Enfield.
Obviously, you'd played for Barking against Enfield before joining the club. What was your impression of Enfield Football Club at the time?
Well, Enfield was synonymous as the best team. Everyone knew that. It had won the league, I think, 4 or 5 times on the trot. Had marquee players, good quality players, and I think it gave us an incentive to try and match them quality. And fortunately, at Barking, we done that. So it was good. But obviously, Enfield was the team everyone wanted to beat.
You say you've been at QPR for a couple of years as a youngster. Obviously, they released you. Was it disappointing for you that you didn't make it as a professional footballer?
Well, I actually had signed as a professional, so it was the world fell apart really because I'd done particularly well there as well. But I was signed by Gordon Jago, but then Dave Sexton took over, and obviously I didn't figure into his plans. So when you're sort of 18, 17 and a half, 18, and that happens to you, you think that's it, the world's falling apart. But obviously as you get older, you know it hasn't.
The first season you joined the club was Enfield's first in the Alliance Premier League. You scored 30 odd goals that season. You had a magnificent season. Was there any particular reason why your form was so good that first year?
I think that was the fittest that I'd ever got since I come to this club. Eddie had a guy called Steve True, who's a Great Britain triathlon trainer, and he got me the fittest I've got. And obviously it does help playing with good quality players as well, which was good, and we played what I think attractive football, which suited my game.
Your experience at Barking would have been playing very much a local football in and around London. Now you were travelling to the northwest to play at Altrincham Northwich. Did you find the extra time out of your life, was it a problem sort of adjusting to this high level of football?
I found it not a problem at all. No, I found it quite enjoyable because I think you built up a camaraderie with players. You're in there, with them a lot longer, and that we bonded very well. And I found it exciting. You're travelling to different grounds, different parts of the country, and I found it all positive and really enjoyed it.
That first season, Enfield got to the FA Trophy final. What are your memories of the final itself?
Not a lot really. I was quite young, but it was as if it was expected. I don't know why. I feel it was just expected, and I think we just took it all in our stride. Really, it was really enjoyable. We'd done well in the league. It's just something that I expected to do when I come to Enfield, to be in FA Trophy finals and FA Cup runs and win leagues. That's why I joined Enfield.
What do you recall of the Illkeston match in 1983?
We were just talking about it earlier. Again, it was just one of them situations where you knew something was afoot when you went into the ground, because there was hundreds of people with these green berets on and shouting loads of different things, and the game started quite quiet really, and they scored, so everything was sort of quite passive, and then all of a sudden we equalised and then scored 3 goals in about 15 minutes, and that was it. You know, there was police involved, dogs, people invaded the pitch, and we just all sort of went to run into the changing rooms, and you know, everyone was there except for they lost Steve King, and then they found him was hiding at the top of the stands behind one of the chairs, which was quite a funny situation. But no, it was pretty frightening at the time, but again, it's something I think you just deal with and get on with.
During your time with Enfield, you must have come fairly close to getting international recognition, but you only got picked once for England.
Yeah, twice. I played twice. Yeah, probably I got picked when I was very young. Unfortunately, I got injured in that time, so that didn't do well. But the season I had, my best season, is the season I never got picked. So that was probably 82, 83. I never got chosen then. And I think sometimes you just got to be fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. And the manager at the time actually thinks you fit into his plans in the England side. But most of the players, I think you had 5 from Enfield and 5 from Altrincham, so they were the sort of core of the team. But yeah, I think I deserved more England caps, but it's just one of them things.
Well, at the time of the game, was that a disappointment to you not getting more chance to represent your
Not
country?
really, no. I got a couple of England caps, which I'm proud of, but it didn't really matter to me, really. You know, I was more than happy playing for Enfield, being competitive every year we played. Always a good runs, as I said, in the trophy, the FA Cup and the league. So, no, I was more than happy with that.
With your form in those first couple of years at Enfield, you obviously must have come to the attention of some Football League clubs. Did you get the chance to go back into the Football League?
Yeah, I had a couple of people talk to me, and I also have a couple of opportunities to go and play abroad, which I turned down. That might have been right, that might have been wrong, but I was just quite young at the time, so I didn't really know. But again, as a non-league status, Enfield was the best team in the country. So maybe I could have pushed myself on, but I didn't, and I didn't take the opportunities that come. But I was quite happy.
So was it the fact that you had a job outside of football and security, was that part of the reason, or was it just that the clubs weren't the sort that would have appealed to you to make the change?
Well, the teams that I knew were interested, I had Northampton, Luton, Peterborough. I actually believe at that time Enfield was probably a better side, and it was a bit of a travesty that we never got elected into the Football League, because I think we would have done well. And the quality of the players we had in the team, that is probably why we give all the teams in the FA Cup a run for their money. And I don't think anyone wanted to play Enfield from the Football League teams. You know, I didn't think they wanted to get Enfield. But you know, no, if a team bigger stature would have come along, yeah, I might have considered it. That's if the manager would let me go.
Yeah. You did leave Enfield during the mid-80s to go to another club. What was the reason behind you leaving Enfield for that first time?
I'd probably been with Eddie for probably 8 years, and I think sometimes you know, your relationship gets a bit strained, and I think you can be at a club too long and with someone too long, and I think it was probably good for me and for Eddie to part of that time. And also Enfield was going through a transitional period then, and I was fortunate to go to Barnet, which were on the up at the time. But my heart was always with Enfield, so I can't say much more. I just think it was a time to make a move.
The fact that you gone from one local rival to the other, did you get any stick from the fans over that at all, or not?
Not really. They're always pretty loyal, the Enfield fans, and I think a lot of people understood the reasons why players were, because quite a few players left Enfield previous year, my year, and probably a year after. But yeah, also, you know, I'm getting older, younger players are coming through. Eddie might have had a different insight to what his team wanted to be there. And you know, as you become a manager, which I am now, you realise you need to have youngsters to come through and evolve as a team.
You mentioned Eddie McCluskey there. What kind of manager was Eddie McCluskey, and what influence did he have on your career?
It's quite funny because now I'm a manager, you look back, what you need to do, and I've taken a lot of Eddie's positives, and he played attractive football. His philosophy was to get the ball down and pass, and I've always taken it on as when I managed. He had some funny ways, but every manager has his funny ways, but I don't think I've played under a better manager. If I could take Eddie's ideas, his football, how he wanted to play the game, and take some enthusiasm like from Barry Fry, you'd have the perfect manager. But no, I think he was probably the best manager I played for.
Was he? Was Eddie a motivator, a tactician, carrot and stick?
No, I wouldn't say. He tried to get inside people's minds, but as a tactician, Eddie was a pure football manager, and he wanted to get the ball down and pass it. You know, his philosophy was, always score one more goal than the opposition. And I never felt when I played for him that I was restricted. I had to just keep tracking back. He wanted you to work right, but he wanted you to express himself, and had no, restraints on you to not play the game in the way it should be played.
When you went to the other clubs, you also had a spell at Maidstone as well in the conference. Did you think that the other clubs were envious of Enfield's success?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's quite funny because Enfield had what I think probably some of the best non-league players at the time at the club, and a lot of players would want to go to that club to play with the better players. But Maidstone were an up and coming side, and they had obviously got a lot of good players there. I think everyone wanted to emulate Enfield at the time. Yeah, I think you always had one team come out sort of the woodwork, and I think Maidstone actually won it that year. I went there, yeah.
You came back to the club towards the end of the 1980s. How different was the club when you came back to the one you played in the earlier 80s?
Well, the biggest difference was when I first come to here when I was a youngster, the only emphasis on us was being successful. There was no thoughts in your mind at all of you'd be in a relegation fight or you might not win. We used to go out thinking we'd win every game. And sometimes, regardless how we played, we used to just keep winning, and that was a habit we got into. But when I come back, the team were languishing at the bottom of the league, and there was a lot more tension and pressure on the team. There's still some good players there, but if you start off poorly, it's very hard to change it around. And I found, the tension was there, pressure's there, and teams don't play as well as they can do when there's pressure's on. And that was the biggest I found when I come back.
Now that you are a manager of a football club, are there certain things you wish you'd done differently now, having seen from a manager's perspective what you did as a youngster?
As a player,
Yeah.
I think I wish I'd have been a little bit more dedicated and got myself to the fitness I should have been. And it's only when you get a little bit older and you look back and you think, I only wish I'd done that. I wish I'd have listened a bit more. And that's probably my biggest fault. Sometimes you think you know a lot more than what you do, and listening is the art of it. So if you could take every little snippet from each manager or coach you played with and put it all together, you'd be the perfect manager or the perfect player. But it's only when you get a bit older you realise the errors and the mistakes that you made, and that's not good.
The fact you say you wish you'd been a bit fitter, is it because you weren't dedicated enough? Did you think you perhaps didn't have the desire to be a professional footballer?
Oh crumbs, I had the desire utmost. That's all I ever wanted to do since a young boy. But sometimes I think you get influenced in life. I think the actual football setup now it's fitness and then ability comes next. Whereas I think I had an abundance of natural ability, but thought I could just do enough each time. And you can't. If you had actually in your mind known, if you'd done that, I would have been a professional footballer. So I had the ability, but I don't think I put everything in the right holes at the right time.
The quality of players that you played with, do you think you'd be able to go up against the full-time professionals that are in the conference now and still be a top team, or do you think you would struggle purely simply on the basis of fitness?
Well, I think, you know, you're getting back to the fitness level now. Ability-wise, that Enfield side I played in the 80s, I still don't think there's a team in the conference that'd be anywhere near it, ability-wise. So if we had the same full-time trainers then, I think we'd be a better side than all of them now.
And one final thing, if you can, in one sentence, how would you describe your time at Enfield Football Club?
Probably the best times in my football career.